I want to talk to you a little bit about who Grayson was. When you think about him, what comes to mind?
Well, Grayson was a beautiful soul. He was 29 years old, just starting the prime of his life. Hard worker, Southern gentleman, good looking, had the biggest heart, so helpful to our family and community members. He had just flown to Florida to help some family and friends with the hurricane, and just flew back in the night he was taken from us. But what other words could we use to describe?
Full of life.
Full of life. He was big. He was walking to a room and everyone knew Grayson was here.
He could feel safe.
Very safe, in charge, a warrior. I think we could go on and on. Did I miss anything?
Probably.
Yeah, but you knew when you knew when he pulled up in the driveway. Grayson's here. You knew when he came in the door. Just like Morgan said the other day, she would go into see friends, and instead of
They would, instead of, hey Morgan, or if they didn't know me right away, they'd say, oh, you're Grayson's sister. And I'm older than him.
yeah, she's the big sis.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so everyone just adored him. We've had so many people reach out, so many that we don't even know, and just say what a big person, beautiful person he was, which warms our heart.
What were some of his favorite things to do? If you had some things that could encompass everything that Grayson was, what were his favorite things in life?
Hunting, fishing, duck hunting, every type of hunting you could think of. But that's his two biggest things, was hunting and fishing. And that's all he did whenever he had a chance.
When he had extra time. And also spending time with family. I mean, we're a very tight family. We do almost
Extremely tight.
everything together. Like every fishing trip, hunting trip, we were always either included or we knew he was going. And we'd be the first ones he'd call to, be excited to share his hunt if we weren't there. So
Yeah, we have a family group text with all of us and the siblings, and every day, I mean, we're constantly, no matter where one of us is, we're sending pictures or what we're doing or what we just ate or just random stuff, but we're always talking on that.
Yeah. For people who don't know of Grayson but became aware of him through this situation, how would you describe him? Because he's not what happened to him. So for people that are just getting to know him, if you kind of had to talk to him from the perspective of a mother or sibling, what's the fundamental thing you would want them to know about who he was?
I think I know I've had a few moms reach out, or are actually his very close friends that have small children. Grayson isn't married, hasn't started a family, but some of his close friends, while we were at the hospital, mentioned to me, my son loves Grayson as much as he loves me, or Grayson's so involved with my son or my daughter, and he's a big gift giver. And I know my granddaughter Reese calls him Santa Claus sometimes, because he's just he likes to show up with big gifts. And but hearing his friends mention how good he is with their children, it makes me really happy to know that he's just so loving, and he likes to teach them, how to be smart and things to do outside.
He's got a kind heart, extremely kind. So.
Yeah. I want to talk about that night. Mm-hmm. It's a phone call nobody wants to receive. Mm-hmm. Can you walk me through what you remember?
Well, we knew he was in Florida helping with the hurricane. His girlfriend lives in Florida, and she's so dear. He was coming home Sunday to work Monday, and we just built a pool, and we actually just filled it up with water Saturday, Sunday, and I had cooked dinner, and I remember thinking, oh, I know Grayson's going to be coming in hot. He's going to christen that pool. We were excited knowing he was getting home, and Todd actually Todd spoke with him on the phone while he was on his way home from the airport, and we asked him to dinner, and he just said, I'm gonna go on home and get things ready for tomorrow. And we had finished dinner, and then Todd had just got ready for bed.
I just got in bed and a lady called, which we didn't know her, or actually Tori had called.
A friend of a friend.
And said she had heard from her friend that Grayson was in a bad accident.
Mm-hmm. This young lady was at the airport and flew on the same flight as Grayson and knew him, and she was following not far behind him. And so when she came up on the crash, when they were pulling him out of the truck, she knew who it was because she had just spoke to him at the airport. And then so we immediately got, just from our community members, were getting a phone call and a text. So quickly we jumped in our car, and we heard he had been airlifted out. And actually something really incredible is one of his best friends worked with EMS that night at the scene, and he wasn't supposed to work that night. And he also never worked that area ever. And he said, I pouted when they called me in that night, and I had to go out to an area that I don't usually work. And he was there with Grayson when they pulled him out of the truck, which just made me feel good. One of his best friends. And he's also called us on the way to the hospital. But yeah, it's one of those things you never think you're gonna get that call. You hear about others getting that phone call about your child.
You always think about it. I think about it every day. Boy, I hope I never.
Yeah, and we just jumped in the car as quick as we could and got there, and he had a 3-hour surgery after midnight that night, and a neurosurgeon worked on him, and we knew he was going to have to fight really hard to make through, and God had other plans for him.
What goes through your mind as you're driving to where the accident happened? What's the conversation like in the car?
We just did a lot of praying and.
But we haven't been
crying.
by the accident.
Yeah, we didn't go by the accident. It was
They had already
different
taken
direction.
him.
Yeah, they were already
straight to the hospital.
flew him out.
Yeah.
But
And he was about a mile away from his house. Like he was almost home. And I don't know. It's just crushed us, and I don't know that we will have a void for the rest of our life. We will not be able to feel Grayson's presence ever.
How do you deliver the news to your kids? What does that conversation look like?
Well, Morgan happened to be here. Morgan and Jake live in Florida. They happened to be here because of the hurricane. They left and came here, which was wonderful to have her here when it happened. But we were all together. And Grayson, he lived for 3 days in the hospital. And so we were all together when we knew he wasn't going to pull through. And we've cried, we've screamed. Grayson had close to 100 friends come to the ICU, and the nurses even said, wow, he was loved. He was so loved.
they said they haven't seen that many people there.
And they stayed, came back
Stayed with
every
us
day.
all day.
Yeah.
All day.
All day, all night. Not all night, but
Yeah.
late into the evening.
Yeah.
As you're sitting there with Grayson in those 3 days that he was in ICU, what were you telling him?
We just sat there and prayed with them and
Told him he was strong
Yep.
and a fighter, and he's hard-headed.
hold
and
on. And
He's so
Get
hard-headed,
through this.
and he always, walked his own path.
Yep.
Even if it was something, Todd and I would sometimes correct him, and he still listened to us. He'd still, do what we asked him to
He'd
do.
argue with
but
us
he'd
'cause
argue
he's
with you.
hard-headed, but
Yeah, but that we
he
knew
would
he
listen.
had that will, and so we kept saying, Grayson, you've got this. You've got this. Come on, buddy. And everybody just loved on him.
Yeah.
Everybody, cousins. We had a lot of people come in from out of state.
His girlfriend, I think, sang to him every night.
She
She
sat
would
by
stay
his
through the
side.
night and sing
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah. Her name's Taylor Pierce. She's a sweetheart, and her mom's my best friend growing up from childhood. So it was really special. Everybody just, rooted him on. We just really wanted him to pull through, but yeah, by Wednesday we knew that he wasn't going to make it. And
How do you say goodbye in the moment where you know it's time to let go?
it was hard for us. It was, I mean, we were down on our knees. Yeah, I never thought it would be us, but now being in those shoes, just, it still feels, we're still very numb. And I mean, I wake up in the morning and I just, right when I open my eyes, I feel this deep pit, empty pit in my stomach. And yeah.
I can imagine the anger when you find out the details of what happened. When you find out why this happened, what was your reaction?
Anger.
Yeah, you can imagine the anger I had. It was not good.
Yeah.
Especially the way it happened.
It was
should never
senseless.
have happened.
No. Knowing that the gentleman that hit him, caused the accident, has been involved in the same type of accidents before. He is an
2 or
illegal.
3.
He should not be here. He does not have a legal driver's license.
From our knowledge, he was deported several times.
Before this. And he continued to come back. So that right there, if that hadn't have happened, my son, I feel, would be here today with us.
Absolutely.
So it's heart-wrenching.
How were you made aware of the person who hit your son? And once you had found out, like you had said, he didn't have legal citizenship here.
Right.
How does it make you feel about the system?
It's horrible. It's broke.
Broken. Our system is 100% broken.
It should have never have gotten this far, this bad.
No. And I just feel like, our government today, it's not a priority to them. And I do think that if there's not something done, it's going to continue 100%. And just by the posts that we've seen, some posts on Facebook, I haven't looked at Facebook until yesterday. It took me a few days because there's so many loving posts out there that I know would touch my heart. I just needed time. But the amount of other individuals here locally sharing their stories just in the last 2 months of their loved ones being hit on a motorcycle, in another car accident, and same stories. Illegal, should not be driving on our roads, and they did not show any remorse, tried to run from the scene, just what happened with Grayson.
This guy did, yeah.
This gentleman tried to run, he spoke no English, and 2 women from our Bastrop community held on to him until the trooper got there. And the trooper actually came and spoke with us at the hospital. He's very kind, and he's called us several times since updating us on the investigation.
We picked up the court documents, and Mr. Lopez had mentioned that it was one of the worst incidents he's ever seen. And so I can imagine that he shares anger with you. When you're talking to this trooper, what's his sentiment about the suspect? What has he told you about,
When we first talked to him, it was a day after the accident, and he couldn't tell us a whole lot. But he explained everything the best he could, and he told us there was one person that was arrested. He wouldn't say who or what, and later he told us who it was. But he explained everything really well. He was very kind.
He was very
thoughtful
kind.
as he
Yes,
talked to us.
Yes. And he let us know that he was the one that put the cuffs on this man.
Yep.
And that he would be doing the full investigation.
when you learn about the history of the suspect, what goes through your mind about the type of person this was, and, for y'all too?
But he doesn't care about another individual's life, apparently. I mean, he continues to do what he keeps repeating himself. you know.
I really don't think he cares. I mean, a normal person would, maybe quit drinking,
Call an Uber, call a friend.
But I think he really has no incentive to, if he can just be deported and come back,
Come
I
right
think
back.
he's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing happens to him.
There's no
He's
consequences.
not held accountable for anything.
No.
And that's, when I found out he was an illegal, that's the first thing I asked. We have some friends, they're marshals, and I said, well, nothing's gonna happen to him, he's just gonna be deported. But they assured me that,
He will not be,
Yeah.
we want him to pay for what he's done to ours, taking him. He's taken Grayson away from us, and right now,
but still, I don't even know if that's, I mean,
To expand on that, how do you hope justice is served? What do you want to see as punishment?
I don't want him sent out of the country. I just think he'll come right back. I mean, you know, in our anger, I don't want anything good for the gentleman, but
no, I don't wanna say what I would like, but
I don't want this to happen again. I do know that. And right now, we've just heard so many horrible stories, and that's just here locally. And you think about across the United States, I see things on the news, you know, you see these things. I watch the news and I'm like, oh my goodness, someone raped, the little girl in Houston that was raped by these people that are not allowed to be here unless they go through the correct paperwork. And that's what just angers me. I mean, our president, vice president right now don't care. They've done nothing to help. And I'm begging that someone watching understands that this cannot continue. It's not okay. It might be my daughter Ella next week. I mean, it's not okay, you know? What are we doing? There's other countries that don't live like this, you know? I don't know what else to say. It's just, yeah. It's very sad that Grayson's life was taken because he is an incredible human being and so loved, and now we have to live without him for the rest of our life because proper steps are not being taken right now. And it just makes me sick to my stomach. And that's how I have felt for the last week, literally sick to my stomach. I don't know.
We've heard from politicians, not just locally, former Governor Rick Perry. This story is reaching, you know, from coast to coast. How does it make you feel that people are remembering Grayson but calling for action, like you just said?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've spoken this week about, that, I mean, going to the previous question, that this gentleman, you know, he deserves the punishment and he deserves to, you know, serve for what he did, but we think that, you know, as Morgan said, Grayson was ours and he was taken from us, but since it was Grayson, we think that this is really an opportunity to make a difference, because he was loved by so many, and there's so many people across the country, and he was, but we truly think that since it was him, that this can truly make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How does it make you feel that a lot of people are now calling for change, and like you said, it feels like this is an opportunity to make a difference, and this might be the ball rolling on that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
Oh, I'm so proud of that part. I mean, there's really nothing that has soothed me at all this week. And just knowing that if we can make any change in Grayson's name to help anybody in the future from dealing with this would be incredible.
And Grayson would feel the same way.
yeah,
He would.
it's something he would want.
Yeah, yeah, he would.
When you think of this horrible nightmare, what do you feel has been a silver lining? Would it be the opportunity to make a difference?
That's you know, we spoke with the preacher at River Valley this past week, and the question is why? Why did this have to happen to Grayson? And I don't understand, and I don't know if I ever will, but he said to Todd and I, you will see a why eventually. And I left there still, I don't know, am I ever going to see a why? You know, will I ever have that answer? And within a day or two, our community started reaching out from Smithville. And so our representative Stan Gertz has reached out, and people are really wanting to make a difference. They are calling, they're emailing, and I really feel that's the only silver lining I can find in any of this. That if we can make a difference in just one person's life, I feel that'll make me happy. But
What does life look like now without Grayson?
Well, it's horrible. We
It's
all,
dull.
yeah, we all did so much together. We loved each other every single day. We told each other we loved.
every day.
After every phone call, after we leave each other, right before we leave, we say, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we're just a tight family. It's like something's ripped right out of our hearts.
Yeah.
How do you continue? What are you leaning on right now?
Each
God.
other. And
God and each other. That's, you know, and so many people say take it minute by minute, not day by day, and they're right. I mean, I went to Austin yesterday trying to find a dress to wear to his service, and just, you know, keeping my mind busy helps. But the minute it gets quiet, that I just picture his smile and his loudness, and it just rips your heart a little bit every time.
For people who don't know him but resonate with your story, whether they've lost a loved one or have had to bury their own child, what can you tell them about your experience when it comes to grief?
Well, I just hope they have God in their heart, because like Morgan said, you know, God and family is what's keeping us together.
Yeah. Yes.
I can imagine the forgiveness process is going to be a long one. How do you still continue each day without that debilitating anger? How do you not let it get the best of you?
I mean, there's moments that, I mean, the anger is so big, like, because this could have been prevented. But I'm not at a point, I haven't reached that point yet where
We're not over the anger yet.
no,
Or I'm not
it's
over the
too,
anger yet.
it's too fresh. I mean, I hope I can get there for myself. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
One of my last questions for you is, have you lost faith in the system to protect your family?
The way it is now, yes, I have. I mean, nobody even cares, I feel like. They could care less. And I don't see any change.
No.
It's sad, but I feel like it's getting worse and worse and worse. Every
Yes.
week, every day.
When something like this happens as well, we start to hear all the stories as to how many people this has happened to, not in this area as well as across the country. You don't hear the stories as much, but when something happens, everybody's reached out on social media, and you just find out how bad it truly is.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think we can stop it?
It's here. How are we going to fix it within the United States? It's going to take years if we can even fix it. If we do not have change,
It's gonna take somebody to change the law.
It's
That's
good.
all it's gonna have, you know.
closing our border is the first thing that's going to help.
That's a start.
That's a start.
But you still have a long ways to go after that.
Yeah. And I'm worried sick for my family, but my grandchildren. I mean, what are we doing to our country? I worry every day for everybody. So,
It is.
and I never, you hear all these stories, you don't ever think it's going to affect you personally, and then all of a sudden on a Sunday evening you get a text at 8 o'clock at night when you're getting ready to go to bed that your son was just hit by an illegal drunk driver. and is fighting for his life in critical condition. And I kept thinking for 3 days straight in the hospital that this was a dream. This isn't real. This isn't happening. We're going to wake up tomorrow. None of this is going to be going on. And on Wednesday, it set in that we knew he needed to rest. And it was devastating.
One of my last questions for you is, how do you, I assume we're all people of faith, right? How do you imagine Grayson in heaven right now?
Sitting right beside God, telling him some stories.
Telling them some stories, hunting stories,
Scouting ducks.
scouting ducks.
Sure, he's the center of attention.
Center of attention. Break dancing on the dance floor.
Yeah.
That split he does when
Split.
hurts me every time.
What is one of the things that you'll miss most about Grayson?
No. I mean,
Everything.
every part of that boy.
His smile,
His laugh.
his laugh. He'd love to have a good time. You could be in a bad mood and he would put you in a good mood. He liked to do silly things.
His costumes. Ever since he was could walk, he had costumes. We'd buy him 3 or 4 costumes a year. Even now, I mean, I think he has so many. He loved Halloween. He'd go buy a costume, wear it.
If you could say one last thing to Grayson before the accident happened, what would it be?
So the last thing I said to him 10 minutes before was, "I love you." And
And I think it would be, I love you.
I'm grateful for that. And he talked to Rogan too right after he talked
His
to me.
brother.
He was driving home from the airport and he called me and we just sat there and talked, and he told me he met Ron White in the airport and we laughed, and then last thing I said was, "I love him." Then he called Rogan, which was his brother, and said the same thing, and both of them said, "I love you." And then I know he
Taylor.
talked to Taylor, his girlfriend, same thing. Last thing she said was, "I love you." So
Mr. Davis, if you knew that was going to be your last conversation with your son, would you have done anything differently?
no, I just,
Grayson knows how much.
yeah, he knows how much, because we say it so much. I would have talked him out of driving, I can tell you that, but I mean, I'm just so glad that he called me and I told him that. And
If any of y'all had the opportunity to talk to the person who's responsible for this, what would you say?
I probably can't say it on TV because I have so much hate for him, honestly. I do. And it's sad, but it's just the way it is.
I don't think there's anything that we could say to him that would make him understand what a big person our son was and what a wonderful human being he took from this world. That meant so much to so many people.
So many people.
There's nothing we could say to make him, I don't think that, and knowing that this is a repeated incident that this same gentleman has done before the cause wrecks. I mean, could we change him, make him a better? I don't know. I don't think we could.
If you could talk to politicians to make policy changes that could potentially prevent something like this, what would you tell those people?
I mean, there has to be a change. It's getting worse. I mean, more people are going to die at senseless.
Senseless acts.
You know,
Yeah, they've got to do something.
at some point, somebody has got to open their eyes and realize, well, this isn't working. You know?
No.
It's just.
It's common sense too. I mean, if you're going to lead our country, you need to love our country. You need to love everyone that lives here legally, that was born and raised here. And I mean, I don't know what else. If you can't do that, then you do not need to be in charge. There's no reason, I mean, right? Am I correct?
No, you're 100% right.
That's why we vote in this country, for someone who's going to take care of us. That is what they need to do. And if they can't do that, I'm a teacher. I go to work every day and I take care of students, and I love my students and they love me. And if you can't do that as a leader to our United States, you are in the wrong job and you need to step aside. So.
One of my last questions for you is, what have you learned through this experience?
That tragedy does happen when you least expect it. And I know some people might see our interview. I saw a message on Facebook and I stopped looking at it right after. I'm like, you know, they feel sorry for Grayson. They feel sorry for us. They feel sorry for Grayson. Yet they want to say, well, there's other statistics that are just more, you know, there's more deaths in other areas. Well, you know what? Every life is precious. And that doesn't even need to be said. So.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been stopped.
Yes.
I mean, and just for nobody's doing anything about it, that's what just bothers me the most.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they should be worried about our citizens before an illegal. I mean, there's just so many. I don't know.
I have to ask you this because I feel as though it's in the midst of happening, but this story in a time like now is going to be politicized. Would you prefer that for action, or how do you feel that this is going to be talked amongst lawmakers, it's going to be talked amongst people in positions of office?
As long as somebody can fix this, I don't care how it's used. You know, we don't want to, you know, our intentions were, we didn't want to politicize it. But, you know, I'm to the point now, as long as this is fixed, somebody's got to do something. You know, I don't care how they use it. You know,
If it could make a difference.
Make
I
a
don't want to
difference.
lose. I don't want to lose any more of my family members, and I don't want anybody else to lose any. You know, it's just been horrible, and I don't know if I could go through it again.
Yeah, I don't want to politicize it either, but some of Grayson's friends are in politics, so of course that was brought up to us. But this is all about saving other people's lives. This is all about making change, so it doesn't happen again, because it's not fair to the family and it's not fair to Grayson. And I want to take this terrible tragedy and turn it into something bright, because Grayson is the brightest. And we're already looking at ways to make a difference. With some local boys in Smithville is one option that don't have fathers. And but we're looking at different options, but this we want to help others in honor of Grayson, and he would love that. It would make him so proud, and he's a very proud person. So we're gonna do that for Grayson.
Yeah.
So
For people that want to help you, how can they do that?
well, right now we're just working on it today. We've had such a great amount of contributions already. We're talking about doing a GoFundMe page, and the service that I'm wanting to help with the young boys in Smithville, Texas, that do not have fathers. We're talking about doing hunting or fishing tournaments each year, and raising money to help them out, and they would be taught these skills, these hunting skills and fishing skills by us or whoever we get to help us with this. But that's kind of what I'm thinking, and that's something Grayson would do. He would be right in the middle of that, loving every second of it. He loves kids, he loves hunting, he loves fishing. And so between Texas and Florida, where we're from originally, we hope to be putting on some fishing tournaments, skeet shoots, with these young individuals and helping them out and making them have a brighter day. So, of course, we've got a lot of work, but we are just putting together a GoFundMe page for that. So,
Thank you for telling me. And once it's made, please feel free to send it to me. So
yes,
I can share.
absolutely.
Is there anything else any of you want to add at all that I haven't yet mentioned, but you want to make sure is out there?
I think we've covered everything. Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you though for asking.
Thank you so much for your time and for sharing who Grayson was. It feels like anyone who knew him was in for a treat.
Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and get the latest news by downloading the CBS Austin News app.